Welcome back to the People's Imbizo, and we are discussing some of the issues that are facing the society. Always know that you can join the conversation by tweeting us and hashtagging it the People's Imbizo. I'm just going to talk to our audience and find the challenges they face in the communities and what they think can be a suitable solution that can suit all those that are around men. All right, we just like to find out from our audience some of the challenges that you see men face. We know suicide can be one of the problems. As we've already spoken to Mishak, dads in the picture plays a big role. Just in your opinion, what are some of the challenges that you've noticed?
Yes, thank you very much. We are from Youth for Survival, NGO. You know, we have picked up that men in general, because as has been indicated from the panel, they are socialized to believe that, you know, being violent is part of masculinity, is part of being a man. And that's a problem. It's really, really a problem, because unless that changes, this problem is going to continue on and on and on. What we have done is we have initially hosted forums where we initially try to, because we accommodate women who have been abused in our organization, and we have, you know, organized forums where we try to empower them, you know, against, you know, so that they know their rights when they've been abused. But then we realized later on that these forums actually are not going to be effective when the men perpetrators are not part of them. So what we did later on, we then invited men to be part of these forums, so that, you know, when they are there in these forums, and then they can engage, and then they can see what is required in order to change. Then, you know, we've seen that, you know, men who have participated in these forums have actually, you know, realized, at least they've realized that unless there is change of behavior, not much is going to happen. You know, in other words, the problem is going to continue. So really, we are excited as well to see these initiatives. Especially, I've been listening to the panel. I think there's a lot that is being done. We are very excited as well, and we are going to engage and seek opportunities to engage even with the members of the panel to really try and engage men. You know, because we believe that unless, and again, we strongly believe, unless there is change of behavior, and I think I remember Steve did highlight to that, if men do not change inside, if there is no change of attitude, you know, all this socialization that men, if you're not violent, if you're not dominant to women, you're not a man, the problem is going to continue. So men must change from within. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. My concern is this. We've had women empowerment, and all of those programs have focused purely on saying, let's empower the girl child, and the woman. Let's take a girl child to work. Let's do this for the girl child. All of those programs have been very good. However, there's a mathematical equation that says what you do on the left, you must also do on the right. Now, you have a girl child who's now so empowered. And if you look at it in terms of a technological analogy, you're updating the software of the woman or of the female, and yet you're leaving out the software of the male child. And at some point, you expect that these two should actually come together and meet. How are they going to meet when the boy child hasn't been empowered to understand that a woman is not subservient to a male? That a male and a female in today's society, they are equal. So that when we get to a point where the male child gets to be an employer in the future, he doesn't say, you as a woman, I'll pay you less than a man, because at some point you're going to go on maternity leave and you're going to cost my company. How do we get him to understand that there are so many other ways when we always leave him behind? And those are the things that we've missed out. There's currently a department for women and children. And I support it. It's very good. However, where is one that focuses on the men and the boys? When you hear about those who are smoking nyaupe or doing nyaupe, it's always, guess what? Nyaupe, boys. Labafana wunga, and all of these other concepts. But you seldom hear of the girls, because more and more attention is focused on the girls. All I would like to see happening is that when there's women empowerment, we have boys walking parallel to those same women who are being empowered, or to those girls who are being empowered. And that, Mfundisi, should also be the focus of the men's parliament. As Nawa Bungoman has been saying, that the men's parliament is actually a social concept where we involving both male and female. And that would help, so that we don't come now and say we are now wanting to empower males and boys at the expense of the women.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. I'm from an organization called Ubuhleba Madoda Men's Forum. And my input on this issue would be that I'm sure legislatively we do have programs that talk to men development, because I've came across a men development strategy from Gauteng. I don't know how many men are clued up about that. Therefore, I think I'll put more challenge to the officials who are supposed to disseminate or capacitate men on such programs, because it's no use for people to get paid having to execute a certain task without even doing so. At the end of the day, I know that a lot of men here, even here, it's for the first time they heard about the men development strategy. It is there, but it is not that effective. Therefore, we should continue formulating men forums so that such programs can be put into those forums to at least capacitate men moving forward.
We're going to get back to our audience in a bit. Can we just talk back to our panel? Steve, I know you touched a bit on men's health and what you're currently doing for HIV, STI, and so forth. We recently had a discussion similar to this regarding tuberculosis and the rise in the Northern Cape. What we wanted to find out is some of the contingency plan government has, and some of the plans that organizations such as yourselves have to rope in these two, because we do know that some of the things we're talking about has a lot of stigma attached to it. How do you then deal with that stigma to make sure that TB, for instance, a person takes treatment, adheres, and we prevent new infections and deal with the current ones that we currently have?
It's very important to understand, first, the South African National AIDS Council is multi-sectoral. So it brings government, civil society, and private sector together and at various spheres, from national to local. And fortunately, we have the chair of the council. So as much as I co-chair, but the chair of the council is the deputy president, who's also a patron for this Takuwane Rime campaign. What we know around HIV, TB, and STI, for instance, we've got up to 7 million of people in South Africa living with HIV. And we also have a very high rate of TB in South Africa. In fact, South Africa ranks number 6 in the whole world. Now, one of the biggest things is what we're saying, actions count, and every 5th year or 5th year, we launch the NSP that is costed, that says what is the priority. Now, the current NSP that we've just launched this year says that we must focus on prevention. You know, if you talk about new infections, whether of TB, whether of HIV or STI, you must close the tap. Currently, we know that 2,000 new HIV infections come from young girls between the ages of 15 to 24. Now, these are young girls. These are our same daughters that we're talking about in this session. But these girls are not infecting themselves. They are infected by men. And these men, they are mobile, they are macho, there's the whole concept of power, of dominance, and they have money, right? So the concepts of blessers, the concept of sugar daddies and so forth, these are the problems that we're confronted with. And it's also the concept of power, of patriarchy, that men think that, you know, we will dominate and we will not behave in a particular way, leaving your wife at home, leaving your girlfriend or whatsoever at home to come across a young girl who's a student and who is in need of 20 rand, who's in need of whatsoever. So these are challenges that we come across. The plan itself speaks from a multi-sectoral point of view that says government must take responsibility that they are charged with to provide services. Organizations that are working in the communities, who are actually the anchors of community voices, to saying mobilize and monitor, but also bridge the gap. So if you have organizations that are in communities that have identified the gaps that exist, so we want those gaps to be met. Now, we are at a point where we need collaboration and where we need to ensure that resources go to where it's needed. We can't see resources that are being spent at national. We see many activities, luxuries that are happening. But when you go to the ground level, these resources are not expressed with working with Mamtambo, working with Utatus Banban, who's been there in the community for so many years doing work. So what we need to maximize resources. We need communities to spend and to be accountable for those resources. But ultimately where we are, I will differ in the kind of language that is being used. And some of the things that, and I think some of the audience have raised, we are not in a space where we want to blame and point fingers. I don't think we want to do that. We are in a space, if you're talking empowerment, rather than speak about human development, and say, okay, we have girls empowerment, we've got women empowerment. It was bound to happen because for so many years, women were stopped to work, women were not given opportunities, men were in the forefront, and that's why 1956 happened. And we can't be comparing, why do we have women empowerment versus men empowerment? We are at a point where we say we want to elevate some of the gaps that exist around men. But we're also in a point where we can't speak of nuclear families. It doesn't exist that much anymore. We must move with time. It is 2017. We've got diversity even with families. We've got child-headed families, and that's why the dad's in the picture is saying the man is also missing. The dad in the picture is not there. And how do we elevate those absent dads and identifying those things? So for me, those efforts culminate to bring everyone together, the unity that we're trying to say. Agenda around HIV, it's not done because 7 million, and with the current rate of new infection of 270,000 new HIV infection in South Africa per year, it's a lot. But we want that tap to be closed. So all these efforts are done collectively and we want to maximize them.
And then Melanie, if we can just touch on I'm going to pose this question to all our panel members. In the organizations that you're working with, within the community, going forward, what is the ultimate goal? This goes across borders, so we would just like to find out, going forward, we know that there is a march planned for Saturday, the men's parliament is coming up. Going forward, what is the plan?
Well, the march is on Sunday, the 19th of November. We congregated 11 at Keizersgracht in Cape Town. But coming back to your question, it's getting the mind of a man correct. Because it is when the man's mind is in its correct place, it makes the right choices, that we will have a better world. Nothing else, nothing more. Because as people, we make choices. We make good choices and bad choices. But for us, it's to, recalibrate the mind of a man to always make the right choices. And then that will ensure that we have a better world that we all aspire to live in.
And then coming to you, Emmanuel, just with your going forward and your closing remarks as well, how can men do this initiative, empowering men that have been left on the wayside, as well not forgetting the women that are there, regardless of so many opportunities that are there for women, but saying we are going to advocate for men, however, we're not going to leave the women out?
Yes, indeed. Master Chaba, that actually talks to the initial formation of Men Restoring Dignity within Mephos's Foundation. It was based on what is actually happened, whereby women, everything, it's all about women empowerment, a girl child, and so forth. That is why even we decided to say we had to conduct a study and see if they're going to meet each other halfway. But we discovered that everything has been going towards that other direction. So, but now the other issue was in response to the other question that came to say, but what about men, what about boys, and so forth. That is why now this Men Restoring Dignity with Change Leader program is started. So in an actual fact is that it focuses more on training and equipping young men to be able to have the equal opportunities with women or females at a later stage, because we have to build our future leaders, but you can't sustain the future leadership by focusing on one particular area and forgetting about men. So from that particular angle, that's why we find it quite important that we establish this activity, and through the training and developing of these young people, the critical thing that is standing out is about the values. Every program that we are having is talking to the values. We talk about the values of Ubuntu, we talk about the respect, we talk about the integrity, and so forth. So it is very important, and hence we will be going to the Cape Town as well in support to the Men's March, we actually even encourage other people to join us. And hence on the very same merit, it's not yes, indeed it's a Men's March, but you'll expect even women to come and support men, because there are still men who are out there who are trying to do the right things in the right way.
And then Misha, coming to you and your status of way forward, closing remarks from your organization and the topic at hand.
Ultimately, we do agree that it is easier to raise a good man than to try and fix a bad man. We have to always be very aware that we cannot duplicate each other. What different organizations do, especially with empowering men and rewiring and basically getting the men to change their behavior, it's critical to the success of all projects. Now ours is to say, even before that, you know, Daddy spoke about closing the tap. We're saying let's close the tap and raise the good boys. From birth, let's raise the boys alongside the girls. Let's not divide them. Let's make sure they understand that the roles, there's no such thing as boys' roles and girls' roles. They might have preferences, but the roles are the same. They must all be empowered in the same level, at the same level. Currently, government focuses on addressing and answering today's question, but now we're saying we want to answer tomorrow's question. When his son and my daughter meet tomorrow, or his daughter and my son meet tomorrow, they must have the similar values, the similar beliefs, the similar kind of aspirations of life for them to become a power couple, to become future parents that will raise the next generation. And we're saying it starts in the family. Let us raise them well, and in the absence of fathers, let us find a replacement, let us find a stand-in fathers. And we call upon the men themselves. Sometimes as men, we beat each other down. We talk badly about the other men, not understanding how they got to be where they are. It is not an excuse. I mean, Daddy mentioned the fact that we have women empowerment, it was a necessity. The fact that we've got children's rights, it is a necessity from certain aspects and from certain behaviors that we had. So we can't be fighting that. No, that must take its course, but we must make sure that tomorrow we address that. On Sunday the 19th, we will all be there in full force, supporting this movement, because it is only by working together that we can change. and rewrite tomorrow and rewrite the history and rewrite all the bad things, because our image as men cannot be addressed by and changed by anybody else but us, because we are the ones who have to sit here and say what is wrong with us, what has gone wrong, how do we fix it for tomorrow.
Thank you. Pongani?
Thank you, Ms. Chava. You know, I once heard other people saying, when good men keep quiet, evil prevail in the society. So that's why then this movement seeks to ensure that good men stand up. Good men don't read newspapers and get shocked by what is happening in the society, but they stand up, and that's why we are saying on the 19th of November, let all good men in the society congregate in Cape Town and march against all social ills. But also on the 29th of November, let all good men attend the SA Men of the Year Awards ceremony in Carnival City to showcase the work that other good men have done and to appreciate that. Just to reflect on that one, we once honored legends like George Bizos, Dr. Richard Maponya, even Andrew Mlangeni, and Ahmed Katraida when he was still alive, to say these are good men that South Africa can learn from. And this year again, we will be honoring Dr. Gumbi, Babu Angas Buchen, and Dr. Don Matera. And we are saying these are positive male role models who did not disappoint us when they were young. That's why we honor them when they are old. When they were young, they contributed in nation building. And when they are old, they live their private life progressively and quietly, because most of them have retired. And that is what we are encouraging, to say young boys can learn from their lifestyle, and even men who are struggling can learn from them and change. But there are also young good men that we have seen, and we will also be honoring them in different categories. So we are saying every good man must stand up, showcase his good work, and be part of men's movement. You form men's forum in your own township, you form men's forum in your own suburbs, so that then you can mobilize this men's parliament and have men talking about how do we transform the society. Because our slogan, our theme in fact says transforming South African men. And that has got to do a lot with what Daddy was talking about here. How men think, you know, because now men see themselves as victims, but men should see themselves as victors against apartheid and as leaders to transform and make our country better.
Thank you so much. And lastly, we're just going to go to Dr. Mbulelo. If we could just have your closing remarks, and most importantly, you could just tell us about the march that's taking place, what people can expect out of it, what you want to get out of it.
Thanks a lot. As in my capacity as Tekwane Rime Secretariat, we really appreciate different organizations, and especially the campaigns. We'll be there to support them. Recently we launched No Excuse campaign in partnership with AB InBev. There will be resources for that. We're going to implement few programs as from next year, in fact the whole 5 years. So we'll be working with all of these organizations. But most importantly, we must have a plan, because as Steve, as the chair of civil society in the country, she will require that plan, and without a plan there will be no implementation. But I must also apologize to men of this country. We could not transport everybody to Cape Town because we don't have resources. We started this movement with zero budget, and we wanted to show people that you can start something even if you don't have money. Money must follow us. We are not doing this because we want money. Money will find us in the way. So we could not transport everybody. We apologize for that, but there are few men who will be in Cape Town, and we hope that those men will represent us and come up with that plan. And all of us will be expected to implement the plan. So the Men's Parliament is taking place on Saturday, 18th of November, and Men's March following day, 19th of November, as indicated by Comrade Mabalan. And thank you very much, NN7 as well, for partnering with us. And we hope that we'll be able to mobilize resources as well, so that we have these dialogues in communities around the country. So that people don't come here in Gauteng or Pretoria. We go to communities. We hope that even some potential donors can come forward and add value in this initiative. Fortunately, this is not a Boko Haram movement. We want to add value into our society. We want to see a free South Africa, which is peaceful. And churches must also come forward, especially faith-based organizations, to help us, so that, because most people who are hiding behind religion, beating women, they're in churches. So we want churches to expose those criminals, to say, you can't hide in this church. You committed crime. You deserve to go to jail. So we want everybody to participate. This is not a movement to cut men to pieces, but we want to contribute to our society, to say, this is who we are. We want to contribute to the nation building. So thank you very much, and God bless you.
Just to get back to our panel, would anybody like to add anything? Steve?
Yeah, thanks. I think part of what's happening with interventions in communities that contributes to the national agenda, because this is national but also international agenda. And I'm hoping that, as interventions takes place, we link people to services, because ultimately, whether psychosocial support, whether we talk about direct biomedical interventions, ultimately we want people to know their status. Men sitting around this session, but also men in Cape Town, we want to encourage men to go test for HIV, at least annually. But we also want men to screen for other illnesses, TB, STI, and other non-communicable diseases. We want people to live. Life expectancy in South Africa has increased, and we're hoping men can also live a better life, a much longer life, and we're hoping that contributes to the well-being, not just economic but and socially, but the well-being of a man that is able. We also, part of these initiatives, on the 1st of December, South Africa will be commemorating World AIDS Day. This effort will be led by the Deputy President, by the civil society leaders, by the ministers, by the premiers and MECs in the province, and which will be going to Eastern Cape in OR Tambo. So what we want to achieve is a better life for South Africans, and even those who come from other countries who live in South Africa, and we want to live in harmony for that.
Anybody else?
The answers lie with us.
Yeah.
It is not with government,
Yeah.
it is not with corporate South Africa, it is with us as individuals. The fact that when we are called to come and do tests, when we are called to actually come and take a stand, our attitude has got everything to do with our nurturing, how we were nurtured, how we were socialized, and unless we readdress these from grassroots level, we will not see any fruits bearing at government level and by corporate. So the different efforts from different organizations require us to make sure that on the grassroots we are all active. The fact that we're going to Cape Town, we're not taking people to Cape Town to march in Cape Town. We are supporting the people in Cape Town who must come out and march, with the understanding that we're not marching against government, we're marching to sensitize, to raise awareness that as men we are here and we want to work together with every single man in this country to make this country a better place, to make sure that this country, tomorrow the leaders are going to be influenced by what we will be doing henceforth.
This has been yet another informative conversation with you, for you, about you. From me and the team, thank you for watching. Goodbye.